Short Travel Podcast number 2 for August 4th, 2023. This episode, we're going to talk about something you don't hear much being discussed, the Mountain Bike Hall of Fame. Yes, there's a Hall of Fame, a real Hall of Fame. We're going to talk about SID forks, the 24 model. And speaking of 24, we're going to talk about the Supercaliber, the new Trek, what they're calling Gen 2. Supercaliber frame and bike. And we're going to talk about an interesting interview I have coming up next week. That's just some of what's coming up. So here we go.
Short Travel Magazine.
All right, welcome. We are going to start right off with some news in the cross-country world. Let's talk some product stuff. The 24 SID forks and rear shock was announced this week earlier. A couple interesting things. Me having an older bike, I've got absolutely no use for these new forks, but I still like to look at them anyway. They haven't exactly been a secret. You could see these new forks for the whole year so far. You could tell by the crowns. They look the same decals, same graphics as basically. Aside from the new blue color, the black ones look, exactly the same. They don't all have that cool crown. Only the Ultimates have the machined out crown, it looks like. The rest of them just, I don't know if the crown's new or not, but the thing that kind of cracks me up is there are now at least 8 different SID forks. I'm no marketing major, but listen to some of these names. You tell me if it's obvious what all these different forks. You have your SID 2P and your SID 3P. Okay, that's, in case you didn't know, the 3-position or 2-position dampers, which, why not just make them all 3 for crying out loud? Why would you, I don't know, make it 2 and 3 so you could use either one. I don't know. SID Select 2P, SID Select 3P, SID Select Plus 2P, SID Select Plus 3P, SID Ultimate 2P, SID Ultimate 3P. Some of them, I believe the Ultimates are 32 mil stanchions, the rest are 35. The bigger stanchions, I don't know if it's true, but it says minimum of 180 rotors, which is that the new norm? I have no idea. I have 160s. I've always had 160s front and rear for cross-country bikes, and I do have 180 front on my fat bike. It came standard like that. So I don't know. Maybe 180 is the new norm. I mean, there's not a huge weight penalty, I guess. You gotta have an adapter on a lot of the 160 forks. So who knows? But I found that interesting that they still keeping the 100 mil travel with the 32 stanchions if you want. I don't know how many of those they're gonna sell. 110 is now kind of the de facto standard travel. Instead of 100, they have 110 and 120. They shaved a few grams off. But anyway, so that's interesting. Again, they look the same. I do like that crown. No more carbon crowns and all that kind of stuff from years past. So we'll see. If I plan to buy a bike in the next year, I'm going to try to keep what I have for at least another year. I'll probably end up with one of those as my next fork. Speaking of new 24, we got the Trek Supercaliber Gen 2. I can't believe I remember anybody else using this Gen 1, Gen 2. So that's interesting. I logged into the Trek website, and all the existing bikes are still there, and they all have got the Gen 1 tacked onto the name now, and that's what was my first clue. Like, wait a minute. I don't remember seeing that. So they're just going to call them Gen 2. And, of course, they're supposed to be released to the public officially August 10th. So what is that, next Thursday, I guess? Wednesday, Thursday? I've got some pictures of the whole bike here in front of me right now. It looks visibly to the naked eye. You'd never know the difference. Aside from the new RockShox shock and 20 more mil of travel up to 80, somebody mentioned, I was talking to, the chain, chain stays or seat stays are thicker, much heavier duty. I can't tell from the photo. Angles are definitely changed. 110 is the new norm on the front. So they said they've kind of slacked it out a little. And so it's not just a new shock slapped onto the old frame. It looks like it, but apparently there's a little more to it. There is no rear pivot yet. I mean, that's still all one piece, chain and seat stays. So nothing new in that regards. But it does look, 80. I don't know. To me, I have 100 on mine. Would I notice a difference going to 80? Probably not. I mean, front shock to me seems to be more important. They're touting they call it the ISO strut, of course. It's the new Sid Lux ISO strut. But apparently it has some type of a rebound adjustment knob. I'm surprised the old one didn't have that. The old one, of course, made by Fox. So it looks the same. It's just all black RockShox, typical with the red O-ring and all that type of thing. So it says it's easily, this is something that I find interesting because I know a lot of people have posted questions in the forums about servicing the Fox strut. This one, it says service is also simplified with an easily removable ISO strut cap. I have no idea what that cap part means, but the fact that they're mentioning its serviceability, that's kind of cool. The colors, look to be, there's a silvery, kind of a nice silver color, so nothing crazy there. But just very interesting. I never bought the Supercaliber Gen 1. I really wanted a bike with 2 bottle holders. That's something that's always bugged me about my top fuel. I have to strap a wolf tooth doohickey on the down tube if I really want to bring 2. I can't reach it while I'm riding, so it's really more just for my super long days where I need more water. But the 60 mil travel that the old one had just didn't grab me. I kind of felt like, why would I want to go from 100 back to 60? I still don't, actually to this day, I still don't really get the point of the Supercaliber as a replacement for the top fuel as its cross-country kind of World Cup bike. It just left a giant gap. So I've been riding my same top fuel 9.8 since 2016. So what are we up to now? 7, 8 years. Just because Trek didn't have. Now there's other brands, of course. I just happen to have a lot of Trek dealers near my house, and Trek's only a few hours away, and I attend all of the Wars Wisconsin races, which are sponsored by Trek, and it's just one of those comfort zone things. I do like their warranty, and I usually like their paint colors. Like, for example, I really don't like Santa Cruz paint colors. Or the silver and red of the Blur I do like this year, but that weird kind of salmon color and the purple color and I'm just not into those. I don't know if that's a California thing or what. Some people really like those kind of odd colors. I'm more of a gray, black, silver kind of a guy, I guess. So we got that to look forward to. That might be my next bike. I'm not sure. And lastly, for the news, we're going to talk about an interview. I got an interesting, I say he's a young guy. He's 28 years old. That's not terribly young. It's young compared to me. It's half my age, but he's kind of a Wisconsin-based racer, but he's kind of made his mark. He did pretty well at the USA Nationals a couple weeks ago. For example, he got, I'll save it for the interview, but he seems like a really nice guy. He's been around. He's been to Europe. He's done cyclocross. He loves fat biking. He loves cross country. And so we're going to talk to him and see if we can learn some new insights into what it's like to be somebody on the rise, somebody who's just about up there with the top guys and could possibly go even higher if he wants. So that's coming next week, I believe, end of the week. So it's time to move on. Oh, wait a minute. Hall of Fame. Let's talk about the Hall of Fame. A lot of people probably don't realize there even is a mountain bike Hall of Fame. I most certainly don't see any mention of it in any of my forums or just talking to people I know. But there is, in fact, a Hall of Fame. It's in California, and I've never personally been there. But since I've been following racing and mountain biking for 30 plus years, every year, they're having to they already inducted a zillion people. So most everybody that I've ever known or heard of has already been inducted. In fact, it goes all the way back to 1988. They've been inducting people ever since 88. So, but this year, there's usually like a handful. I think this year there's 4 people. Sean Palmer, I don't know. I mean, everybody back in the 90s knew who Sean Palmer was. Downhiller. Kind of a rock star dude, with the glittery jackets and the crazy hats. And he wasn't in the sport too long, but he seemed to be pretty crazy, talented rider. They have a builder, Diddy Schneider. I've never heard of him. In Germany, apparently he's a trail builder. Good old Rob Warner. I thought that was interesting that he had not been inducted yet. Downhill. And finally, a cross-country racer, Gunrita Dale Fles. I always just call her Flesja. It's probably Fleya. I have no idea. But she's being inducted. And, of course, she just quit not too terribly long ago. She was inducted in 2021, could not attend. So they're kind of delayed it until this year. And now she's officially going to be in the Hall of Fame. Most new riders don't really know much about her, but she is a 10-time world champion. So she's up there. She's like Nino level. 9-time European champion, gold medal Olympics in 2004. And I forget how many World Cups she won. 30 World Cups from 1996 to 2018. So a 22-year span, she won 30 World Cups. Not bad. If you think about it, what Nino's got as far as his resume, that's pretty darn close. And she raced hardtails all the way up till the very end. I remember in 2018, she was just about the only person who was riding a hardtail still. Very old school looking. It was cool. So that's going to be interesting. Now, what they are doing, and if you're bored, Saturday, October 21st, they're going to live stream the entire event. Now, is that going to be, I'm going to probably tune in and just see. I've never actually watched the live stream, so I'm curious as to what they're going to do, if all these people are actually going to be there and all that type of thing. So Saturday, October 21st, doesn't say what time. That's odd. But anyway, go to MTB HOF. Why is it? Marin Museum of Bicycling. That's right. That's where it's actually at the museum. MTBHOF.org. So that's something to do if you're older or at all curious about, the old days. There's a lot of interesting people and things that have happened over the years. So if it's kind of cool to go through their list on the right side of their homepage of each year. Like for example, in 91, I started racing. Tomac was entered in 91. Well, when I started, he was still, a new name to me. So you got Tomac, Gary Klein, for example, was in 91. All these people, Ross Schaefer, a lot of people don't remember them anymore, but I think it'd be worth, if you're bored, be worth checking it out. The last couple years, I just did some perusing. I didn't actually recognize many. Rachel Atherton was 21, and Dave Cullinan. So they're not always got cross-country people in here, but it's still people, It's a quick read. It gives a little bio. So check that out, MTBHOF.org. And that's it for now. Let's have a quick break. Thanks. All right, quick thanks to Kurtlow Cycles again. They're going to be the sponsor for the next couple episodes. Custom steel frames, complete bikes. What you get with Doug Curtis of Kurtlow Cycles is like 30, 40 years of building custom bikes. Almost everything he builds is custom. So you give him your measurements, your current bike, all that type of thing, and he will spit out something just for you. Colors, components. You want a longer head tube than, modern bikes are giving you. You got an odd requirement. Make some killer tandems. It used to be in a lot of the magazines back in the day, back when steel hardtails and things were the norm for racing. He's kind of gotten out of the mountain bike world a bit. He still builds, hardtails and fat bikes, but he's kind of drifted into the gravel road scene, which is where a lot of these small builders seem to be heading, since the full suspension mountain bike world has kind of moved into, exclusively carbon, if you will. So check it out, kurtlow.com. That's Kurtlow Cycles. Its prices are extremely reasonable for what you get, and give them a shout. Tell them John at Short Travel Mag sent you. Thanks, Doug. All right. This is a segment I like to call Late to the Party. I have been known to sit back and let new trends, usually with equipment, kind of come and go. I love new stuff. I love to try new things. I don't know if it's not being cheap, because I certainly am not afraid to spend some money on things. I just tend to keep what I have a very long time, whether it be my cars, my guitar, my bass guitars, or my bicycles and components. So I want to talk about the Sram Eagle AXS, the last generation. I call it late to the party because I just actually installed a full Eagle XX1 system on my bike about 3 weeks ago. Basically, I did it because there's really nothing left for me to try on my bike. I got carbon wheels. I got everything that I've always kind of wanted to, and I've settled in. And one thing I kind of have been wanting the last few seasons is one more extra gear when I'm climbing. Now, I use a 32 front chainring. I could, of course, put a 28 or a 30 on there. I have a 30. I've dabbled with that. But it's kind of a pain to switch those chain rings. I got to pull the whole crank arms off every time. Then my chain is a little looser, and I've done it. I usually have just been surviving with my 1142 in the back, my 11-speed. And so I saw a good deal. I can't remember which holiday, what 4th of July maybe? I don't remember. No, it was before that. Well, maybe it wasn't. Anyway, I got a pretty good deal. The XX1 upgrade kit, I think I paid $700 for it. And then, of course, I had to buy the cassettes. That's always what has been holding me back, is the fact that I already have 3 top-level 11-speed SRAM cassettes. I've got 2 bikes with 4 wheels. I thought, oh, geez, now I got to buy all new cassettes. So those were on sale, too. I got a pretty good deal, $250, $279 for the XX1 10 to 50 cassettes. So I just bit the bullet, dropped a decent amount of money, and thought I'll put it on. I can always sell it or get rid of it if I really hate it. And so, late to the party, I'm not going to give you a review of it. You've already most likely watched a million videos, but the things I'd like to talk about very quickly today are the surprise features that I ended up really liking enough to where I don't think I can, I'm one of those, I don't think I can go back to the old cable systems. Something that I would never have guessed, and that is the ability to simply see what gear I'm in right on my Garmin. I know it's stupid. I know I can look down between my arms or my armpit area and see what gear I'm in, but back in the old days when I had my 9-speed, I raced 9-speed XTR all the way up until 2016. So way past its prime. I still have it, in fact, on my steel bike that I use for indoor training in the winter. It had a big old gear display right on top of the handlebar. You could see what gear you were in, front chainring and back and I got really used to that. I always missed it when I moved over to the Top Fuel and the SRAM X1 11-speed system that came on that. So first thing I thought of when I got this Eagle AXS was to just see what would show up on there, and I found a little thing for my Garmin, and sure enough, it's just a number, 1 through 12, 12 being it's not the teeth, it's what would that be? 12 is the smallest cog in the rear, 1 is the biggest. So anyway, I've gotten so used to it, I don't think I could ever ride without seeing that. When I'm climbing, I raced for the first time with the whole thing 2 weeks ago. I found myself constantly looking to see if I had another gear or two. Just, I'm already kind of head down when I'm sitting down, hammering up a climb. And it's just so nice to look down and see a 3 and know, oh my gosh, I still got two more gears to go. So really all I gained is that 50. But I don't have to swap chain rings anymore. I don't have to deal with anything. It's just always there. And so far, I actually used it a few times at the Red Barn Classic, the race that's at Trek's private training grounds where they test things and whatnot. And there were some decent hills. And second lap, yeah, I was hitting that 50. I don't know, 5-6 times in that last lap, thinking, man, I don't know what I'd have done without it. I probably would have been fine. I'd have gotten up there with a 42, but it did feel actually really nice to have that 50. I went with the 50s because I didn't want to go all the way to the 52s. First of all, they weren't on sale, and they weigh a little more. And I just thought, you know what, 50 is good enough. Going from a 42 to 50, that's plenty. I don't need to. I'm assuming the 50s are going away. I mean, they don't put them on any new bikes. I think they're just going to keep selling them until nobody buys them and then just stick with the 52s. That's my assumption. So we got that. The other thing I really like is the ability to shift with your index fingers or your first 3 fingers from between the brake lever and the grip from the front. In other words, when are you doing that thumb over where you have your thumbs up on top of the bars and your hammer, and you can just tap with your fingers. Now, this only works on the original, I don't know what you'd call it's not paddle, the original paddle design, which I find to be absolutely perfect. I really didn't think I would like going from 2 thumb buttons to this weird paddle thing. So when I got this system, I immediately put that rocker paddle as they call it, which is supposed to mimic the 2 thumb buttons. Couldn't even get the thing to fit. I have XT brakes. Could not get that thing positioned right to where I could actually hit those buttons. They were touching the brake lever fastening thing I'm a doodad on the XTs. Way too close to the bars and absolutely no way to move them down. So that went away. So I put the original back on. I even ordered the new pod, the transmission pod as they call it, with just the 2 buttons. Again, I couldn't get that thing positioned right to save my life no matter what I did. It was angled weird. It's angled like a 10-degree tilt. I hated it. The buttons were too close together. So I'm in the camp that the original design is actually the best design. And I'm not alone, because if you look at some of those recent pictures of Nino's bike, he's got the new system transmission on there, but he's got the old shifting. I call it shifter button. They call it controller. He's got the old style. There's a few other people. I think Rebecca I'm going to say McConnell, is that her real name? Henderson, whatever it is. She had the old style, and now, of course, you maybe have noticed, Nino has got this new pod with an unreleased paddle design that looks just like the old one. So he must have, I'm assuming, said, hey, I like the old style. So, but if you notice, the last World Cup, I think he won that one. If you watch it as he's crossing the finish line, I don't think it was the end of the race. I think it was maybe 1 or 2 laps before. He's doing that. He's holding with his thumbs up there. He's just tapping very slightly his fingers right between the brake lever and the grip. And he's downshifting or upshifting. I can never get that right. Into a harder gear. And you barely even have to move a finger. It's like it's become so intuitive that I cannot imagine not having that back button option. So I'm assuming this new pod that I've seen with the little wings kind of poking out bring back that ability to do that. Hopefully, because they are lighter and smaller, and maybe that would be something to look forward to. So that's that. The only other thing I really like is the fact that it actually shifts. 2 things. It shifts perfect every time. It really does. I wouldn't have believed it. It actually, I just hit the button and it shifts. I don't have to worry if I did a half shift. It's just so automatic. It still makes noise. It still clunks, just like the old, some reason was thinking it'd be all perfectly silent. Nope. It's clunky just like the old one. Sometimes it's like wham, you hear this massive clunk. That's still there, but it's perfect. It never is partially shifted or kind of shifted. So 2 thumbs up on that. The other thing that I really like, the final thing that's going to make me want to keep that thing on there, is when I switch wheels, I have the same DT hubs. I think they're 240s. I have the same cassettes, yet the old 11-speed, things would be just a little off. I mean, microscopically, I'd have to actually adjust the adjustment knob. What do you call the thing? Thumb wheel, whatever it is, on the cable shifters to get the shifting right. But I could never remember if I turned it up, if I turned it down, quarter turn, half turn. I just started fiddling with that stupid thing, and it made me not even want to change. I ended up just changing my front wheel only for race day. I have little meteor tires on there for race day than when I'm just riding around town. I just use the one bike all summer. So the ability to, I'm at a 14 on the app. When I log into my AXS app, there's a 14. That's what my normal wheels are at. When I put on my race wheels, I bump it over to like 16, and now that thing shifts perfect. I do it in 2 seconds. When I put the other wheel back on, go into the app, click, back to 14, everything's fine. Those little things that I don't really hear anybody discuss much are really some of the best parts of the electronic shifting. The batteries has been zero issue. I'm not even going to talk about batteries. I have never run out of a battery. I keep one in my seat pack. I have to charge my Garmin every couple of days. It's a simple, I put both on the charger. They're sitting right next to each other. Zero issues. I've gone for almost a month and it didn't even come close. So I still have like 20-something%. And that was after a month when how long have I had it now? I left it in there about 3.5 weeks without actually charging it. I do have a second battery that I keep charged, and I have it on my fat bike, and that one I charge every week or so, and it's going fine. No problem at all. So that's late to the party. I'm still a fan. I can't run the new style transmission even if I wanted on my bikes. So I don't know. I'm kind of sold on it, to be honest with you. And I really hope Shimano kind of comes out with something without wires somehow to compete, because we need something more competition for SRAM, I think, although they are killing it. So that's it. Late to the party. SRAM, AXS Eagle, 2 thumbs up. Good stuff. All right, last segment for this episode. Let's talk about the World Championships are still fresh on my mind as they're about to start. They've actually already started. A few of I think track already started, and USA already won a gold medal, Chloe Dygert, so that's cool. But doesn't really get going until next week. But I got to thinking about we got Vanderpool, Pidcock, Nino, PFP, Puck Petersa. I think that's how you say it. I mean, this is going to be the most loaded mountain bike race, cross-country race, and short track ever. I mean, this is like everybody's going to be there. This could be a good one. Now, I'm not going to bother making predictions. That's absolutely, nobody gives a hoot what some nobody like me thinks is going to win. It doesn't matter. We're not betting or anything. But one interesting thing, and I don't know if you've seen it, there is a course preview video that the UCI released almost a full month ago. And you should look it up. It's on YouTube. Just type in 2023 Mount XCO course preview, whatever. You'll see it. It's an interesting course. It's another one of those courses where they had to jack it up with giant logs and giant boulders where they carefully place them so it looks almost impossible to ride through. Yet when you watch the pros, they find a perfect line. I never see anybody just go bailing over the bars, landing on their head, which is good. I don't want anybody, pulling a Vanderpool. Sorry, I'm Vanderpool, like he did in Tokyo. But I guess it's just for looks. I mean, I don't know. Figure there's got to be some other way to do that. But anyway, the course to me actually, I don't know, looks kind of boring. It's kind of going through some urbanish areas, some tunnels, a little, couple crossing of the roads. Then it goes up into the woods, which nothing looks particularly gnarly. Now, this was just raw course. There's no markers, no tape on the, there's no banners, there's no crazy people screaming. I'm sure it'll be wonderful once the actual race hits. This is a month ago. Just some dude is riding around saying, here's this section and here's this section. And I'm not complaining. I'll take any cross-country type race. Probably the worst example of that was the European Champions last year, that course. And it was pouring rain. That just looked so lame. It looked like it was just in a city park. Almost looked like a cyclocross course, kind of. I mean, it was bad. It didn't even look like mountain biking. So this is a definite improvement. I got pretty much, all I needed to see with that video. So check that out. It's worth a quick watch before next week. And okay, I will make a prediction. I'm going puck all the way for the women. I just don't. Pauline, was going to want it after winning all 4 last year of her world chip. But man, puck was on fire the last couple races. The men's, I have no idea. I don't think Vanderpool's just going to walk in and win. I don't know. He's got the power, maybe. Pidcock, I don't know. He walks in and seems to be able to win whenever he wants these races. So who knows? It's going to be a great one, though. My prediction is going to be, besides puck for the men, it's going to be somebody we don't quite expect. Kind of like a Jordan Saru a couple of years ago where nobody really thought, he would be the guy, and he pulled out a win. As Blevins is the only USA male who's going to be there, so good luck to him. I'll be rooting for him. Hopefully he can put something together. You never know. He won it before. I don't see why he couldn't pull it off again. Got Sam Gaze is healthy again. He's always a threat in the short track for sure. So it's going to be a good one. I can't wait. We'll talk about that more right before next week. And that's it for this particular episode. I do want to mention something that I'll be discussing in the next episode. Not that you really care, but it's an interesting experiment where I got to ride a actual gravel bike on a group ride on gravel. Now, why is this interesting to me? Because I've never actually ridden a drop bar bike. I think maybe 3 minutes I rode my cousin's Diverge, Specialized Diverge gravel bike a couple years ago on a bike path with him. We switched bikes. I was on my full suspension. He was on that. Other than that, I've never ridden one. I've never owned one. Never even threw a leg over one. So I got a chance, invited to ride with the Moots A guy from Moots from Steamboat Springs, Colorado, drove in for a demo at my local shop, and the manager of the shop said, "Hey, why don't you come out?" I said, "Heck yeah!" These were $10,000 bikes. He had 20 something of them in a row, of all sizes. That was really cool. So I'll give you my thoughts on that. See if any of you guys who've dabbled in the gravel world can kind of sympathize with the things I liked and really didn't like about it. It was interesting. We'll talk about that next week. I got some great video footage. I'm going to throw together my first video next week, I believe, because some of these things I've discussed the last couple episodes have a visual component that might be kind of nice. So I'm going to try and kind of do a video every week and kind of show a few things that I talked about in this podcast. And actually a couple things that are new and will only be in the video, including some review stuff and some race footage that I've gathered. You know, all that kind of stuff. So that's it. This is episode 2. Again, thanks to Kurt Lowe Cycles for sponsoring this particular episode. And he's a good guy. He makes classic bikes just for you. So, KurtLowe.com. That's it. Talk to you next week.